Webinar today on customising JAWS using the Settings Centre. Our presenter today will be Danny Keogh in our Melbourne office, and I'm Rebecca Clark. So today is designed as a basic overview of the Settings Centre because there's an awful lot of options in there, just to give you an idea of how to navigate it and what sort of options are available for you to change within JAWS to make it suit you. So I will now hand over to Danny. Just a moment.
Okay, as soon as we get screen sharing up and running.
There we are.
All right, so we do apologise for the last time we tried to do this. It was an internet outage at my end which cut it short. So what we'll be doing today is we'll be doing a couple of things. We'll be doing 2 recordings. One of them will be audio only, and that is for the people who are JAWS users. And the other one will be audio and video. So we do have screen sharing up and running. We do have, and we'll either put this up, we're not too sure yet, we'll either put this up on YouTube or we'll allow people to download it directly. We'll figure that out at the end. You'll know by the time you see this exactly what we've done anyway. So, as Rebecca said, the purpose of today is to go through some of the general settings. Now, there's a couple of areas I want to look at. There are 4 main windows or dialog boxes, if you like, that I'd like to have a look at. The first one is the basic settings. We then have the settings center. We then have quick settings, which I'm going to very, very briefly look at. That'll probably take all of about 30 seconds. And we then have, we'll have a very quick look at voice profiles at the end. They give people a bit of an idea of what they are and how you can set them up and also what you can do with them as well. So let me just press a button here, and I do apologize for the mic handling noise. Now, we have the standard JAWS window up here, and I'm running JAWS 18. Now, the settings center goes way, 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 way back to, I think it was either JAWS 12 or 13, they may have introduced it, I can't remember, but it was quite a few years ago. If you have a version of JAWS earlier than that, or if you remember versions of JAWS earlier than that, it used to be called the Configuration Manager. My opinion, the way they've done the Settings Center is a much, much better way of doing things than the old Configuration Manager for those people who do remember it. Now, how do JAWS configurations work? Well, there's several, I suppose you could describe them as levels, if you want to think of it that way. And the higher up you go, and I'll explain that shortly, everything overrides everything else. So we'll start right at the very bottom, where you have factory defaults. Now, what they mean by a factory default is when you do a fresh install of JAWS, you have no user settings on your system, you do a fresh install of JAWS, straight off the internet, straight out of the box if you like. That is the factory defaults. And they're generally set up for beginner users. So JAWS is very verbose, it talks a lot, it gives you a lot of tips, it gives you a lot of information that you may not want or you may not need. The next level, and this is a higher level, is user defaults global. So by global, I mean all over Windows. So everywhere. Anything that the user changes with the global settings will override the factory defaults. So as an example, if you have your what's called typing echo, and that is what does the keyboard do, what speech feedback do you get using the, and I'll show you an example of this shortly. What speech feedback do you get when you press a letter on your keyboard? By default, the factory default for that is all letters. So everything you press will get read out. If you change that so that it reads words only, that overrides the factory default and it overrides it globally. Okay, so above that, a higher level still, you have application-specific settings. The application-specific settings override both the global user defaults and the factory defaults. So again, we'll take an example of the typing echo. If your user default is set to words, but you want a particular application such as Microsoft Word to read letters and words, that will then override everything else, but it will only do it within Microsoft Word. And I will demonstrate this shortly as to how that actually works and give you a bit of an idea that it does actually work that way. Okay, you can even go higher still. You can go document specific. Now that's a bit, you don't have anywhere near as many options with that. There's only a few things you can do to the document specific, and they are generally only available in some programs. So they're available, I should also say document and or website specific. So they're available on your web browsers, Internet Explorer, Firefox, and through most of the Microsoft Office products like Word, Excel, etc., etc. We're not really going to go into those today, but to let you know, they are there. If you have any questions on them, if you want information on them, get in contact with us and we can certainly have a look at that. So the first thing I want to have a look at today, and this is, as I said, what I'll be doing is going through a couple of options and showing you some of the things that we always get questions on. And the particular ones I'm about to go through, we get a lot of questions on this. So we're in the main JAWS window. We need to go to the options menu.
Auto menu, options menu, basic stop.
And we need to go here into basics.
Enter, leaving menus, basic settings dialog, announce custom messages only.
Now, I'm not going to go too much into what a lot of these options do. There's only a couple of them I want to look at today. And the first one I want to have a look at,
speak all radio button,
is
automatically start JAWS ... button, Alt plus J.
The automatically start JAWS options. I don't think a week goes by without me getting at least 2 or 3 questions on how this works. So let's go in and have a bit of a look at this in a bit more detail.
Start JAWS options dialog.
You have in here 2 checkboxes and a combo box. So your first option,
start JAWS at the logon screen, checkbox not checked.
Start JAWS at the logon screen. Now the reason this is not checked with this particular one is because this particular version of JAWS I don't have starting as the default. That's why it is not checked. My advice to anybody who has a copy of JAWS on their system is to have this option turned on. Even if you do not have a login screen, even if you do not have a password, because there are situations where, and I'm not going to get into too much of the technical detail behind this, but there are situations when parts of Windows partially shut down. And one of the best examples of where that sort of thing happens is if you have a box pop up, which some of you may have seen, called user account control. Now, in some cases and in some versions of Windows, and again, this really depends on what version of Windows you have, if you do not have this option turned on, you will not get speech when user account control comes up. And there are other situations too. So many of you may know of the keystroke Control-Alt-Delete. If you do not have JAWS enabled at logon, you will not get speech in that window with some versions of Windows. So my advice is always have this turned on regardless of whether your computer has a password or not. Especially have it turned on if you're like me and have several different logins on your system. I have 3 on this computer for different reasons. Okay, so the next one.
Start JAWS after logon for all users, checkbox not checked.
Start JAWS after logon for all users. If this is turned on, then what it will do is it will set JAWS up to automatically start speaking no matter what user account you log into. If you have a system with multiple accounts, all of them will then have access to JAWS, and it will speak in every single one of them. Any new user accounts you create, JAWS will also automatically come up and speak. If this option is turned off, that will not happen. What will happen is that your current account that you're using currently, so your current login, JAWS will come up and speak. But whether it does in other ones or not depends on how you have things set up. And we'll go through that in a sec with this combo box. So in my case,
Start JAWS after logon for all users.
Start JAWS after logon for all users is not checked. So let's have a look and see what this combo box does. We have
Start JAWS after logon for this user: combo box. Always, Alt+T.
Start JAWS after logon for this user. We have 3 options. We have
Always one of 3. Never. Using the all users setting.
We have always, never, and using the all users setting. Always is fairly obvious. So no matter what happens, always start JAWS for this user. Never, don't start it for this user. Extremely handy if you have a computer where you have sighted people and one of them has an account, they don't want JAWS running. Fair enough. Now, this combo box for the first 2 settings, regardless of what the previous checkbox, so regardless.
Start JAWS after logon for all users check.
Start JAWS after logon for all users. This combo box will override that setting.
Always,
so
never.
If you have JAWS set to never, even though that checkbox before was turned on, JAWS will still not start. Your last option.
Using the all users setting.
Using the all users setting. That will basically have a look at the
Start JAWS after logon for all users.
Start JAWS after logon for all users option and say, okay, what's that set to? Right, let's just set it up so it does it that way. Sounds complicated, but it's not. And again, if anybody has any questions about it, get in touch. Okay, so we'll get out of
Basics.
here.
Or run JAWS from system tray checkbox not checked.
The other option I want to have a look at.
Show virtual view. Use keyboard layout: combo box. Laptop. Alt+L.
Use keyboard layout. JAWS has several keyboard layouts depending on what you want to do and also depending on your keyboard. If you have a laptop without a number pad,
desktop,
the desktop layout is probably not a good idea. JAWS has a lot of functions that use the number pad, and if you have access to, and if you do have a laptop that doesn't have one, then you're going to be missing some of that functionality. You're going to be missing some of those keystrokes. Also, the insert key, which is the default that JAWS uses for a lot of its commands, or the bottom left-hand corner on the number pad, the 0 key, the insert key, can sometimes be really awkward to get at on laptop computers. And from now on, I will be referring to that as the JAWS key, by the way, unless there's some specific reason why I have to refer to insert. So sometimes that can be actually quite difficult to get at on some computers. If you change your keyboard layout
laptop
to laptop, you then change your JAWS key. Yes, you still have access to the insert key, but you also add the caps lock key as a modifier. So holding down your caps lock, for example, JAWS insert and the letter T.
JAWS Professional, basic settings.
Reads the title of the current window. If you have your laptop keyboard layout set, caps lock and the letter T.
JAWS Professional, basic settings.
Reads exactly the same information. But your laptop layout also introduces a whole bunch of other keystrokes using the right-hand side of the keyboard. So your letters J, K, L, U, I, O, P, etc., that are not used on the desktop layout. And a lot of those commands replace the ones that come from the number pad. So if you have a laptop without, if you have a laptop without a number pad, my advice would be to actually get in there and change this to the laptop keyboard layout. I won't go into too much more in here.
Windows system parameters.
Windows system parameters. If you're running anything later than Windows 7, don't even waste your time in there. It's not worth it. It doesn't do anything that you can't do elsewhere.
Advanced.
And the advanced settings, I won't go through too many of those either. Most of them aren't really relevant to what we're looking at today.
OK
so,
button. JAWS Professional.
We'll get out of there. So that's your basics dialogue. And as I said, that question on the auto startup is probably the one that we get asked. I probably get at least 2 calls a week asking about that. Now, moving on to the settings center. The settings center is where probably about 3/4 of your JAWS configuration settings are stored, maybe even more than that. And it looks complicated. It sounds complicated, but it really isn't in terms of using it. Now, I'm not going to go through all of the options in here. As a matter of fact, I'm really not going to go through most, if any, of the options in here, purely because there's hundreds of them and I'd be here all week. So, to bring up the settings center, we use the command JAWS key 6. Now, that is the number 6 on your number row, not the number pad, on the row of numbers above the letters. So JAWS key 6.
JAWS window dash JAWS settings center dialog. Search box edit. Control+E.
Now, we got a fair bit of information there. It told us that what we're currently setting options for is the JAWS window. So if we read the title,
JAWS settings center dash JAWS window,
we get JAWS settings center, and then it tells us it's the JAWS window that we're looking at. So let's go through this dialog
cancel,
and we'll see what we have here. So when you first enter, you end up on a search box. I'm going to go back one.
Application : combo box, JAWS window.
To the application combo box. Now, this allows you to change the application or to change the program, whether it's Notepad or Microsoft Word or whatever it happens to be, that you are setting up, that you're configuring with JAWS. Now, it started off with the JAWS window because that's where I was. If you do JAWS key 6 from inside an application, or from anywhere for that matter, it will automatically try to set up a configuration for the application you are currently in. So I'll demonstrate that. This one did
JAWS settings center dash JAWS window.
The JAWS
JAWS
window.
professional.
If we get out of here,
P, Notepad, enter, Untitled.
and if I load Notepad and then load the settings center,
Notepad dash JAWS settings center dialog. Search box edit. Control+E.
we now have
JAWS settings center dash Notepad.
we now have the configuration options for Notepad. So whatever application you're in is what it is going to try and set one up for. Now, if there is no configuration currently set, it will ask you to create one. Go ahead and do that. If you don't set anything within that application, so if you get out of the settings center or if you change to another one without setting anything, nothing will be saved. So you're not going to be creating a whole load of blank configuration files. The only ones that will stay there are ones where you have actually gone in and changed something. Okay, so this combo box
Application : combo box, Notepad.
gives us all different things. So we can do, let's just move up and down a little bit here.
NS Elite, Office Help 2007.
Now these are all the ones that JAWS already has configs set up for.
OneDrive, Open Book,
So there's a whole bunch of stuff which is actually
NS
done
Elite,
here.
Notepad.
Now, remember I talked earlier about global defaults. That's the next level up from the factory settings. So how do we get to them? Well, we can either shift tab to this combo box and then go to
D, default left parent, all applications right parent.
with first letter navigation and get to it that way. Or the other way we can do it,
NS Elite.
if we're on one that we don't want, is Control-Shift-D.
JAWS settings center dash default left parent all applications right parent. Default left parent all applications right parent.
And that's what you want to hear, default all applications. So there's a couple of reasons why we do that too, because that also opens up a couple of options that are not available for application-specific settings. Okay, so let's go through this box and have a look and see what we've got.
Search box edit, Control+E.
If we then tab from the combo box, we end up with the search box. Now, what you can do in here is if you have a fairly good idea what it is you're looking for, but you really don't want to search through several hundred options to find it, is you can actually put in a search term here. So say, for example, we want to change typing echo. Now, I know for a fact that's what it's called. So let's put in the word echo.
Echo, typing echo. 8 search results list box, typing echo words.
And all I did there was just tab to the search box. Sorry, tab to the tab after I'd put it in. It told me it had found typing echo. That was the first one. Tabbed across, there's eight options that relate to the word echo. So that's another way you can do it as well. You can also bring up things really, really quickly that way.
Search box
Let's get rid of our search settings. So I just went back to the search box with Shift Tab and then backspace,
blank,
which got rid of echo. So that's brought everything back to the way it should be. So if you don't have anything in your edit box, in your search, if you don't have anything in your search box, what do we get? So let's tab again.
Treeview, user, closed.
We end up on a tree view. Now, for people who aren't familiar with tree views, they're basically like a list, but you can have things closed. So in this point, it's telling me
user closed.
That user is closed. So this is a category of different options. So as we move with my down arrow key,
web/html/pdfs closed. Forms mode closed. Text processing closed.
Now all of these, I'm just using my down arrow key to move through these. What happens if I want to change something in here? Okay, so we'll do some real quick 30 seconds on how to use a tree view. So if it's closed, press your right arrow key to open it.
Text processing, open.
And you'll get this. So now,
general, closed.
We move into the options that actually are within that
text processing.
That text processing options.
General,
so here
closed.
We have general.
Number and date processing, closed.
Number and date processing, a whole load of different bits.
Speech verbosity.
As I said, I'm not going to go into details as to what a lot of this stuff does. Now,
home, user, progress bar updates, announcement 5-second intervals.
The reason I found a specific option is because if we move to the next box using the tab key.
Read-only edit. Programs often use progress bars to show the status of a process, such as an installation. Select an interval in this list to determine how often JAWS announces.
So you got a little bit of help there. So whatever option you currently have selected in the tree view, you will get some help in this edit box. It's a very brief description. It doesn't give you a lot of information, but it may give you enough information. So if we shift tab back to the tree view,
typing echo words,
and go to typing echo, say for example, we don't know what typing echo does.
Read only edit. Use the radio buttons in this group to determine how much feedback is received when typing and pressing keys. You may choose either characters, words.
Okay.
Both characters and words, or none, so that JAWS remains silent as you type. Character echo is.
So there we go. So you do get a little bit of help, and that's just from tabbing from the option you are on. So let's shift back to the tree view.
Characters.
Now I've changed my typing echo. I need to set that back. Okay, that's done. Otherwise the demonstration I would have done wouldn't work. All right. So really simple. You get also, as I said, there's all kinds of things in
Screen
here.
echo highlighted text.
Screen echo. Look, there's a bunch of stuff. As I said, I'm not going to go through a lot of this as to what it all does. You can have a look at that. And if you want more information on any of them, they're all within the JAWS help. What I will do is go to the bottom.
And last changed settings.
To one there which says last changed settings. Now, what this does is this records anything that you have changed. So any options that you've actually changed within this configuration will be recorded here, which is a really, really handy thing. If you've done something and you're not sure what you've done, go to this section.
Last changed settings.
Open it up.
Open. Lower the volume of other programs while JAWS is speaking. Left parent. Enable mouse echo. Left parent mouse echo. Right parent.
And anything that you've done, anything at all that you've done to the configuration will be listed down here. So a very handy thing to have, and that is right at the very bottom. And that will show up either in default configurations or in application specific. Okay, so let's get out of here.
Enter. Untitled Notepad. Edit.
Actually, let's go back in for a second because I didn't quite go through
JAWS.
the rest of that dialogue. I do apologize for that. Now,
Treeview. User.
there's the
Read
Treeview.
only.
There's the edit box.
OK button.
So when you tab again, you'll just come across an OK button,
Cancel button.
and there'll also be an apply button there if you actually have changed something. So, two ways you can actually get out of this. If you press escape, anything that you've changed will be cancelled. If you tab to OK and press on that, any changes you've made will be kept. If you just hit enter from the Treeview, your default button in this window is the OK button. So any changes at all that you have actually made will be saved. So it's up to you whether you tab to OK or whether you just hit enter from here. It doesn't matter. It works either way. So
Untitled Notepad.
let's get out of here. So at the moment, in we're currently in Notepad. And if I start to type
THIFRSATEST period. Enter.
So as you can hear there, all the characters are reading as I press them. Now the spacebar was not reading because I've actually done a little bit of configuring beforehand, and I don't like the spacebar to read, so I tell it not to. If we wanted to change this,
End. Enter.
I'm going to just open very quickly.
D. Word to enter.
I'm just going to very quickly open
Backstage
Microsoft
view.
Word
Blank. Document 1-word.
in a blank document. So
THISRSAT period.
okay, so again, it's reading all the characters. But say, for example, in Microsoft Word, I don't want it to read by character.
Enter.
I want it to read by word. Actually, no, I don't. I want it to read by characters and words. So in JAWS, the global default is to read by characters. I don't want that. I want it to read by words. So let's bring up the Settings Center.
Word-JAWS Settings Center dialog. Search box edit. Control+E.
Make sure I've got Word as my configuration.
JAWS Settings Center -word.
Yep, it is. I want to change typing echo. So let's just look, I can look for it in the Treeview, but I can't be bothered. So let's just type echo into the search box.
EO. 8 search results list. Screen. Typing echo characters.
So there we go. Typing echo is currently set to characters. I want to change that to words. So I'll do that just by pressing the space bar, and that'll cycle through the different options that are available.
Words.
So we've got words.
Characters and words.
Characters and words. That's what I want. Okay, that's all I want to change. So let's just hit
Enter. Treeview. Typing echo characters and words.
So that drops you out of the search. So I'm now back in the standard Treeview instead of just a list of what I searched for.
Typing echo characters and words.
Typing echo set to what I want. So let's hit enter again.
Enter. Document 1.
And that's saved the setting. So
Enter.
let's just see if that's worked.
THRS is a TEST test.
There we go. It has worked. That's exactly what I want it to do. So every time I was pressing the space bar, it would be reading the words. Okay. In Notepad, okay, so this is Microsoft Word. Let's switch back to Notepad.
Untitled Notepad. Enter.
And we still have,
THRS
now I pressed the space bar and it didn't read the word
RS A TEST period.
because that change was application specific. So to show you that we can have different things set up for different applications, that's a good example. So let's set Notepad
Notepad-JAWS set
to read with words only.
ECHO.
So echo into
Typing
the search box.
8 search results list. Typing echo characters.
Typing
Words.
echo words.
Enter. Treeview. Type enter. Untitled-Notepad. Enter. This is a test.
This is a test. There we go. And we now switch back to Microsoft Word.
Document. This is a test. And enter. This is a test.
And we have characters and words reading here too. So there are all kinds of things you are actually able to do. And as I said, this is just a really, really brief example. Hopefully I'm not confusing you too much. As I said, if it's not clear, give us a call. We can go through it. Okay. So let's have a look very briefly at an option that is only available, well, it turns up in most programs, but it really only makes a difference in some. And they would be web browsers and the Microsoft Office products. And that is an option which is called Quick Settings. Now, they are specific to the particular application you are in or specific to the document that you are currently in. The Settings Center does not have document-specific settings apart from for web pages. And that's something I'm not going to look at today. You can set specific settings for individual web pages, and there are reasons why you might want to do that. The quick settings you can access from anywhere with your JAWS key and the letter V for Victor.
Quick settings -Word dialog, search box edit, Control+E.
So again, we have our standard search box, but if I shift tab,
OK button.
We don't have the combo box. We can't change to another application from within here. This is Word specific settings only. So
search box edit, Control+.
Let's tab to the Treeview.
Treeview, 0, word settings, open, 8 items.
So some of the things that you have in here.
1, speech and sound schemes always the same. Formatting, open. 2, bullet type indication on. 1, F1 help prompt on. Headings announce heading and level. Measurement unit set to centimeters left parent default right parent.
So all I'm doing here is using my down arrow key.
Shading detection not checked. Style changes off.
So things like style changes. There's no point in having style changes in Notepad because there aren't any. So a lot of these are purely specific to the application you are currently in. And in this case, we're in Word. If we did the same thing, and of course you have the usual tabbing through the dialog very, very quickly. You have the edit field again, which tells you what it does.
Read only edit. This option controls whether to detect style changes while reading through the document. The two other options include : always announced - style changes are announced regardless of what scheme is used, detected only by scheme.
Okay, I'm not going to go too much into schemes and all that sort of stuff. That's getting far too advanced. But needless to say, style changes are things like when you change formatting, when you've got headings, when you change from body text to, it's a whole bunch of, Word has a whole bunch of built-in default styles, if you like, for being able to do certain things. Anyway, I'm not going, that's something that even I don't fully understand myself because I'm certainly no expert with Word. Okay, so again,
expand OK button.
We have the OK button here. If we don't want to make any changes, and I haven't made any changes,
edit.
Just hit escape and it takes you straight back out into the document. Now, to show you that those things are going to be different, let's load up Internet Explorer.
Windows 2. Google-Internet.
Okay.
Virtual PC.
And let's go into the quick settings again.
Quick settings - Internet Explorer dialog. Treeview. Internet Explorer settings. Open.
So specific to Internet Explorer.
Information bar announce change. RSS feeds announce change. Frame update notification speak frame name.
So this is all stuff which is internet specific. And again in here, These will not show up anywhere. They will show up in Firefox. They may show up in Google Chrome as well, but that's it. They will only be available in web browsers, a lot of these settings. Some of them are actually specific to Internet Explorer. Okay, so again,
Edit.
let's get out of here. And just to give you
Virtual
again,
PC.
a little bit of an idea,
Search at enter.
we're in Google. So
Document 1-Word. Document. This is a test. And enter.
in
Enter.
Microsoft Word,
A-E-L-L-O. Hello.
I press the spacebar to get it to read hello.
Google-Untitled-Note.
In Notepad,
This is a test. And enter. Hello.
there's no characters being read, only words.
Document 1. Google-Int.
If I switch to Internet Explorer and start typing in a search
A-E-L-L-O.
space, we're still on the global default. So that gives you an idea of what you can actually do with that, because I hadn't made a specific change to Internet Explorer for the keyboard echo. So it's using the default setting. Okay.
Virtual PC.
Now, the last thing I want to have a look at today is voice profiles. So some of you may have sort of figured out what that would be already, and that is you are able to set up different lots of settings, not only for different speech synthesizers, but for the same speech synthesizer. Now, there's two places you can get access to these. Let's do it the fast way. So, JAWS key, Control S.
Select a voice profile dialog. Default : combo box. Vocalizer expressive dash left parent factory right parent. Alt plus D.
Okay. So, Vocalizer Expressive is the default, and that is the speech synthesizer I am currently using at the moment. What we have in here basically are profiles for each of the speech synthesizers that JAWS has available to it. So
SAPI5X64 dash left parent factory right parent.
So all I'm doing here is using my arrow keys because it is a combo box.
SAPI5X dash left parent.
So we got the SAPI5 synthesizer.
RealSpeak Solo Direct.
RealSpeak Solo Direct, which is very similar to Vocalizer, but not as good quality. That is on here because OpenBook is on here, and OpenBook does not yet use Vocalizer.
Eloquence.
And of course, we've got Eloquence. And if we switch back to that, all I'm doing here is changing voice profiles. Now I've got that set way too fast for most of you to understand that, but there we go. All we've done is switch voice profiles. So,
combo box, help. And Vocalizer expressive dash left parent.
Hello edit.
Let's switch back to Vocalizer. So where do we set these? And what can we do with them? We need to go to our JAWS window.
JAWS Professional.
And there's two ways you can do that. You can either do that with Alt-Tab until you get to the one you want. In my case, I've got several windows open, so I didn't do that. So I just used JAWS key and J. Now, that is not going to work if you have the laptop layout on your system. Because if we turn the keyboard help on and then ask JAWS what caps lock J does.
JAWS key plus J moves to the prior word and speaks it.
Moves to the prior word and actually speaks it, but insert J specifically.
Insert plus J brings the JAWS window into the foreground and gives it focus.
So that brings the JAWS window in. So that is one of the times when you are going to have different sets of commands tied to your, what is by default your JAWS key and your insert key. With a laptop layout, your insert key is not classified as the JAWS key. So you need to be careful of that. Some of the commands are not going to work the way you expect them to work. Okay, so let's have a look at these voice profiles. So once we're in the JAWS window, we need to go back to the options menu.
Auto, menu, options menu, basic.
We don't want basics.
Voices submenu.
We want
V.
voices.
Voice adjustment ...
So
V.
we have two options in here. We have
voice adjustment.
voice adjustment.
Select a voice profile ... S.
And select a voice profile. Now, select a voice profile is exactly what I brought up before using JAWS key Control S. It's the same thing. So there's two ways of getting into it. But what we want to do
voice adjustment ...
is voice adjustment.
Enter.
So we hit
Leaving
enter to go
menus.
into here.
Voice adjustment dialog. Profile name : combo box. Vocalizer.
Okay, so let's tab through this. Again, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail in this, but just to give you an idea what you can do. The first combo box
Cancel. Profile name.
is what profile do you want to edit. Now, if you want to create a new one, I'll show you how to do that shortly. What you have to do there is edit the existing one and then save it as something else. That's what we're going to do. So we want to...
Vocalizer expressive dash left parent factory right parent 5 of 5.
That is what we want to change. We want to change the vocalizer expressive voice profile. So what else do we have in here?
Synthesizer language : combo box. Match JAWS UI language left parent primary right parent. Alt+L.
So synthesizer language, I'm not going to go into too much details on that. That's only relevant if your synthesizer does support multiple languages, which Vocalizer does, but I don't have them installed.
Speak sample button. Alt+M.
So all I'm doing is tabbing through the options here. Speak sample should be fairly obvious.
Adjust : combo box. All contexts. Alt+V.
Now, adjust all contexts. We have several options here. You can have different speech settings set up for different situations. So all contexts, if you change something in here, that will affect all of your speech. But if you only want to change something with your keyboard, say for example, and I do have this set, and I know a lot of people do. My default is to use eloquence at extremely high speed, which any long-time JAWS users will tell you they probably do, or they may use the vocalizer at extremely high speed. But because my keyboard isn't reading everything out, and when it was, I tended to set the keyboard speed much higher. So the speech that was getting read out as I was typing was probably about twice as fast as what I would listen to normally. So this is where you would set this up. Now, all contexts will give you the option to set all of this up for everything. So that's your voice speed, what voice you're going to use, and a few other bits and pieces. But if, for example, let's go through the options. Let's go through the voices that you can actually set here.
PC cursor voice.
Your PC cursor voice is everything. So as you're tabbing through, as Windows says something like
PC cursor voice to a 5.
That's your PC cursor voice. As it's reading the desktop, as you're arrowing through the desktop, that is your PC cursor voice. As you hear JAWS say Microsoft Word, print view, edit, etc., that is your PC cursor voice. So that is the default reading voice, if you like. So what other ones have we got available?
JAWS cursor voice.
The JAWS cursor, I won't go into too much detail on that, but that is a way of reviewing the screen without actually changing anything. And what it basically does is, to a certain extent, it uses the mouse pointer. It allows you to move the mouse and control the mouse with your keyboard. Okay, so you can have that set to different voices again, or to different settings. You may have that set to an entirely different voice, so you know that you're using the JAWS cursor rather than the PC cursor to actually move.
Keyboard voice.
Keyboard voice, here we go. So again, you can set your keyboard.
Tutor and message voice.
The tutor and message voice is set aside for JAWS specific messages. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's show a bit of an example.
Person : combo box. Karen Premium High Dash Australia.
Okay.
Adjust : combo box.
Let's have a look. So message and tutor voice.
Tutor and message voice 5 of 5.
The 5 of 5 that JAWS read there is not displayed on the screen. Tutor and message voice is, but 5 of 5 is not. 5 of 5 is a JAWS specific message. So that is telling you that there are 5 options available with this combo box, and you're on the bottom one, you're on number 5. So if we did change this to a different voice, that 5 of 5 would be read out differently. It may be slower, it may be in a completely different voice. It is entirely up to you how you do it. The other places where the tutor and message voice is used is if you are on your desktop, if you have JAWS set up to read what they call help balloons, which are kind of little messages that pop up for maybe 5 or 10 seconds and then they disappear. If you have JAWS set up to read those, they will also be read using the tutor and message voice. So, again, I actually have mine set differently with my default profile. I won't show you my default profile because the speed is probably way too high for a lot of you. Some of you may understand it, but a lot of you won't, especially if you are just beginning with this, or especially if you are teachers or whatever. So, let's say, for example, we wanted to change the keyboard
Keep
speed.
JAWS cursor voice. Keyboard voice.
So we switch it to keyboard voice.
Person colon combo box.
No, I don't want, actually I do want to change the person. The person is which voice do you want to use? Let's pick another one for the keyboard.
Lee Premium High Dash. Daniel Premium High Dash United Kingdom.
Okay, he'll do.
Rate colon 117. Left right slider 19%.
I want my keyboard voice to be much faster than that.
29%. 39%. 49%. 59%.
There we go. Let's set it
59%.
to that speed.
Punctuation colon combo box. Most.
So most of you won't understand it at that speed, so I don't normally translate, but I will. So punctuation is set to most. I'm going to ignore most of these.
Pitch colon 100. Left right.
So pitch, I'm not going to worry too much about that.
Volume colon 70.
Volume, again, I won't worry about changing that.
OK button.
Now, if at this point I hit OK, what would happen?
Stop. Cancel button. Alt profile main colon combo box. Vocalizer expressive dash left arrow factory right arrow. Alt plus V.
I'd be changing the vocalizer expressive factory. I don't want to do that.
Cancel. Apply button. Alt save as dot button. Alt plus S.
What I want to do is I want to save this to something different. So I need to find, there is a button just after the OK button,
Save as dot,
which says Save As. So if we go into here,
save voice profile dialog. Voice profile main colon edit.
what do we want to call this? So for people who can't understand that, it said save voice profile and drop me into an edit field. So what do I want to call this voice profile? Let's call it webinar just to be really original.
WEBINAR.
Okay.
OK button. Alt plus O.
And I tabbed to the OK button. So let's now press OK.
Voice adjustment dialog. Save as dot button. Alt plus S. Make default voice profile dialog. Do you want to make webinar the default voice profile? Yes, but.
Now, what it's now asked me is, because I've created a new voice profile, it's asked if I want to make this the default. So do I want to make this voice profile the one that JAWS starts with? Well, in this case,
Yes button.
yeah, we do. Okay, so let's hit yes.
Voice adjustment dialog. Profile main.
You need to make sure when you are setting these up that you do actually set these up so that you can understand the speech. Now, I know that sounds really obvious, but you'd be surprised.
Cancel button. Save as OK button.
So let's hit the OK button.
JAWS Professional.
Now you hear there, we've switched back to the Karen voice because all we changed was the keyboard voice. Now let's
Google
go,
dash int Untitled dash Notepad.
let's go to
Hello.
Notepad.
Enter.
So your PC cursor voice,
Menu bar. File. Edit. E. Format.
I'm
O.
just going through the menu bar here up the top of Notepad,
View. V.
which is about the only Windows 10 program left with a menu bar.
Format. O. Leaving menus. Edit.
Okay, so we've got that. But if I start typing,
Blank. H.
all right,
Home.
Blank.
let's change the keyboard voice. Let's get the typing echo set back to Karen
Notepad.
because it's easier.
Treeview. User. Search box.
ECHO.
So there
Typing
you go.
echo.
You heard it then. As I was typing,
8 search results list box.
We have the
Typing
other voice
echo
reading
words.
out. Okay.
Character off.
let's
Characters.
set that to characters.
Tree view. Typing echo character.
Enter.
Untitled dash Notepad. Edit.
So you can hear there every time I'm pressing something on the keyboard, it's reading out completely different in a totally different voice
THISIS.
at a much faster rate. Now,
Enter.
if I wanted to go back to the way I was before, bring up the voice profile dialog, JAWS key Control S.
Select a voice profile dialog. Default : combo box. Webinar. Alt+D.
So webinar is set to default. I want to go back to
Vocalizer expressive.
Vocalizer expressive.
Enter.
Edit.
Hit enter on that. And what's my keyboard voice set to?
Enter. Enter.
Straight back to Karen again. So that gives you a bit of an idea. You are able to do these application specific. You can have different voice settings for different applications. This is just a really, really simple example of what you can actually do with them. You can have different settings for different web pages. There's all kinds of things you can actually do with these. Extremely handy. You can have things set up so that as we went through before, different voice settings. If you want different ones for Word, different ones for Notepad, you are of course able to set that up. Okay, that's pretty much all we were going to cover. At this point, normally I would ask if we have any questions, but since this is a recording, we'll finish up at this point. If people do have any questions, please get back to us. Give us a call, 1300 791 777. That's 1300 791 777. Or just flick an email to info@quantumrlv.com.au and the girls on reception will make sure it gets back to the right person.
Okay, well, thank you, Danny, for that. That was really good. So I've actually got a question. If you're doing something web page or document specific, that's within the quick settings area? Does that come up as a specific option, or?
The document specific is within the quick settings. Yes. The web page stuff, no. That will show up in the settings center. So what I'll do.
JAWS Profession. Google-Internet.
And I need to remember how to do this because it's not something I've actually done that often. Okay, so we're in
Virtual PC. Google.
We're in Internet Explorer.
Mm-hmm.
Internet.
Let's bring up the settings center.
Application : combo box.
Go to the combo box.
Home. Default left parent all application. End. Home. www.google.com.or left parent domain right parent.
Okay, so it says www.google.com.au and then in brackets it has the word domain. Now what I did there was I hit the home key to go to the very top of the combo box where you select your application, and then down arrow once, because default actually shows up twice. There's several ways of getting to the default. You can either just home on the combo box and it's straight there at the top. Your second option down is your website specific. So
search box edit, Treeview, user.
As we move across here, anything I change now, if we read the title bar of this window,
JAWS settings center www.google.com.or.jcf.
So any changes that are made at this point in time will only affect google.com.au, and that's it, nothing else. Document specific is a little bit different. That is set up in the quick settings. And what you need to do there is move further down the tree view that comes up, and you'll get that, and you'll get all of those options. And they pretty much mirror the options that you can have in things like Word, where you're and most of them are related to what formatting JAWS will and won't read out.
Okay.
And they're basically mirrors of what you will get in the quick settings for Microsoft Word itself. So you can have default set up for all of Word, or you can have them document specific as well. And again, you get a lot of these settings in places like Excel. There's some available in Outlook. They're about the only 3 Office products I use, so I can't speak for the others, but I'm guessing there are some in some of the others as well.
Yep. Okay, thank you for that. So, excellent. That's very interesting. So, okay, I'll take back the presentership and just to repeat the information, if you have got any questions or feedback, or need a bit more training or anything in JAWS, or need some software support, do contact us either 1300 883 853 or 1300 791 777, info@quantumrlv.com.au. Thank you. Okay, cool.